in this particular case, the Republicans were right.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. I'm fiscal with my dollars. I ain't apologizing for not wanting to pay high taxes to anybody. I'm not apologizing for that, right? But outside of that, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay?
Stephen A. Smith called out Sunny Hostin, blasting her defense of wokeness that helped cause the DNC's big defeat. He showed how those progressive excesses pushed voters away. Hostin still insists ideology wasn't the problem, but Smith calmly tore her arguments apart, point by point, proving the party's shift left played a major role in last year's loss. His breakdown was clear, persuasive, and impossible for fair-minded viewers to ignore.
I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay? But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that. These
That's less than 1% of the population.
I understand that,
but you know what? Add Eric during the NFL.
But I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah.
You're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you. Yeah. But most of the voters out there don't think like that. But that
means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information.
It's surprising that so many people still don't see the real reason Kamala Harris and the DNC lost. Their defeat didn't come from bad luck. It came from pushing extreme ideas that many everyday families simply couldn't accept. Across America, parents raised honest concerns, but Democrats treated them as if they didn't matter. Mothers and fathers didn't want their daughters sharing bathrooms with biological men, yet the party insisted this was progress. Families also rejected the idea of girls competing in sports against biological males, who clearly had physical advantages. These weren't fringe complaints. They were common frustrations in ordinary homes everywhere. Instead of listening, the DNC doubled down. Anyone who questioned these policies was labeled ignorant or hateful. That attitude didn't persuade people, it pushed them away. Voters want leaders who use common sense, protect fairness, and respect reality. They don't want ideology forced into schools, sports, and private life. And when the DNC ignored those concerns, they paid the price at the polls.
If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills, and you're going to work every day, and you got a family to take care of, and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again, I agree with that.
Be uninformed.
Or you listen to stuff that's going to take you away from the things that brings down your spirit. And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
Most Americans are too busy trying to keep their lives together to analyze every political debate or policy that comes their way. They work long hours, take care of their families, pay rising bills, and deal with daily pressures that leave little time for digging through research or listening to experts argue about ideas that rarely improve anything. So when a policy feels confusing, unrealistic, or completely removed from their reality, they naturally reject it. And honestly, that reaction makes perfect sense. For everyday people, the priority has never been trendy political topics, complicated identity debates, or the latest cultural argument happening online. Their focus is stability, putting food on the table, keeping a roof over their head, and making sure their children are safe. They worry about expensive groceries, high rent, medical bills, and gas prices. They want steady jobs, affordable housing, good schools, and safe neighborhoods, not lectures about pronouns or academic theories that don't help them survive. In the end, voters choose what affects their wallets and their families. Real-life concerns beat ideological experiments every single time, because common sense always speaks louder than politics.
Because you were inserted even though you were the vice president and it was the Biden-Harris administration, you had folks who are independent. I'm not talking about those on the right, and I'm not talking about those on the left, just independents, who said, wait a minute, she didn't experience a primary either. And the last time we saw her in a primary was 4 years ago, and she didn't even make it to Iowa. They used that as an excuse to point to her level of inexperience. Then you got the war in Russia and Ukraine. You got the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Hamas and Hezbollah and all of that stuff. And you had Trump using codes. Look, do you want her? Where is she? Where's the interviews? Where's she showing herself? Where's the tough questions? Where's the interrogation? And he leaned on certain things.
Stephen A. Smith doesn't just call out Kamala Harris. He breaks down exactly why her political career fell apart, and he does it with sharp, honest clarity. From the start, Harris never built real support with voters. Even as vice president, she struggled to connect, and many people felt she was being pushed into power rather than earning it. That feeling only grew stronger as her agenda leaned heavily into the type of woke politics that tired out everyday Americans. Smith argues that while people were looking for practical answers to rising costs, safety concerns, and basic quality of life issues, Harris focused on ideology and messaging that felt completely disconnected from their reality. And then, there's her biggest weakness: avoiding tough interviews. Instead of facing difficult questions that could show leadership and strength, she often stayed away from real scrutiny. That choice made her look unsure, unprepared, and unwilling to defend her own positions. In the end, Smith explains that voters didn't reject Harris because of one moment. They rejected her because she seemed out of touch, unwilling to engage, and unproven when pressure mattered most.
Does everybody remember he originally said he was just going to do it for 4 years?
Yeah.
That's what I brought up.
Right. And did you think that once you know who stepped in, he said, well, there's nobody, we don't have anybody?
Well, the point is that
Right.
it's not about who you're going up against when you know you're not what you used to be. And see, this is where covering sports puts me at a distinct advantage. I cover people every day where it's time for you to go, but you're holding on and you don't want to leave. People who cover the world of sports are accustomed to seeing that all the time. You are the left, you leaned, and you were a prisoner to the extreme left in a lot of people's eyes. Well, guess what? Most of America doesn't operate on the fringes. Whether you're left or you're right, you're relatively centrist.
Stephen A. Smith summed it up perfectly. The Democratic Party trapped itself by refusing to push back against its most extreme voices. Instead of setting boundaries or challenging the far-left activists who were reshaping the party's message, the mainstream leaders stayed quiet. That silence told voters everything they needed to know. To regular Americans watching from the outside, it looked like the entire party had embraced the most radical ideas without hesitation. As time passed, the Democrats allowed this perception to harden. Wokeness became their public identity, not because every member believed in it, but because no one openly rejected it. By the time the election rolled around, voters had already decided the party had abandoned simple common sense in favor of dramatic, ideological battles. Then came the defeat. And suddenly, the same people who once championed those positions insisted they were never that extreme. But as Smith pointed out, trying to rewrite history after losing isn't a strategy. It's proof of how disconnected they had become. It was far too late to fix the image they created. The woke left eventually sank its claws into Kamala Harris, forcing her into a harsh and unavoidable decision: follow their rigid ideology or risk losing her standing inside the Democratic Party. And, just as many expected, she folded with barely any resistance. It wasn't surprising. The woke wing has built an entire reputation on getting what it wants through pressure, not persuasion. They don't rely on thoughtful debate or respectful disagreement. They lean on intimidation, public shaming, and the threat of being canceled. Anyone who pushes back is instantly branded intolerant and treated like an enemy. Careers, reputations, and credibility can disappear overnight. Harris aligned herself with their agenda because she believed loyalty would protect her, keep her safe, keep her relevant, keep her afloat. But in doing so, she pushed away a massive portion of mainstream Americans. The deeper she sank into ideological purity tests, the more she damaged her own chances. Voters saw the pandering, saw the shift, and rejected it outright. In the end, she didn't just stumble. She became the latest high-profile casualty of the very woke politics she thought would save her. It wouldn't feel like a real episode without Sunny Hostin jumping in with her usual off-track commentary, and right on cue, she did exactly that. As always, she twisted Stephen A. Smith's comments into something he never even suggested. Nothing he said implied that Republicans were a fringe group. That idea was something Sunny created on the spot to distract from the real issue and avoid dealing with his actual argument. Smith's point was simple and easy to understand. The woke left had taken control of the Democratic Party for years, pushing extreme ideas and cultural battles that drove everyday Americans away. Instead of resisting those extremes, Democrats allowed themselves to be defined by them. Republicans simply stepped into the gap the Democrats left behind. Sunny's spin didn't disprove him. It actually proved his point even more. I honestly think the country has reached a point where we need to move past this idea that someone should be given a powerful position just because of their gender. Representation is important, of course, but identity alone should never be the deciding factor when we're choosing a president. America is facing serious problems right now: an unstable economy, a chaotic border, a struggling healthcare system, rising crime, and growing pressure from foreign competitors. These issues are real, and they won't be fixed with feel-good speeches or symbolic political moves. What we need are leaders who can deliver results. We should choose people based on their vision, their ability to make tough decisions, and their track record of actually solving problems. Women who want to lead the country absolutely can, but like anyone else, they have to show they have the strength, discipline, intelligence, and determination required for the job. America will gladly support a female president when the right one comes along. Someone who earns the trust of the people through merit, not through political symbolism. The Democrats' downfall had nothing to do with the country rejecting women. It had everything to do with rejecting weak leadership, empty promises, and a non-stop focus on identity politics. Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton didn't struggle because they were women. They struggled because they failed to inspire confidence, didn't show effective leadership, and didn't connect with ordinary Americans. Instead of tackling the issues people cared about, like inflation, security, the economy, and public safety, they leaned heavily into divisive rhetoric that pushed many voters away. Stephen A. Smith was right. The woke wing of the party dragged Democrats into extreme positions, and instead of standing up to it, they went along. That's what ultimately cost them support. America is ready for a woman president, but she must earn it through competence, vision, and real strength, not because it makes for a political statement.